Hi guys, just for everyone on the Zoom, we'll start with broadcast in this room first, and then for the last 5 minutes we'll hand over to the laptop if you've got any other questions. We'll start with Gregor first, and then Sione will come in after him. But I'll mute you for now, and then I'll put you on once he sits down. All right? And have we got any questions for Gregor virtually?
Hi, Gregor. It's Pablo from World Rugby. You're in the unique position of having played all three teams within the last 2 years. How much does that help for your preparation into the next tournament?
Yeah, look, it should help, especially a team like Uruguay and Portugal, who we wouldn't have really played outside of those last 12 months for a long time. And we realized what a quality team Uruguay were when we took them on last year. That was a tight game with a strong team out that day. They've had some good results over November too. They beat Portugal, pushed an All Black 15 close, and they're a growing team. I think with Portugal, we saw how well they played in the last World Cup. I think they beat Fiji in the pool stages. I think both teams want to play rugby too, so they'll be open games, which are good for our supporters. It might help the way we want to play too, but certainly we've got a lot of respect for both those sides, and in particular Ireland, who have been a really tough opponent for us the last few years.
On days like this, how do you reflect as someone who's been involved with Scottish rugby as long as you have? And how would it feel being the only coach to take Scotland to a third World Cup?
Yeah, well, I've never thought about that. I think the important thing is doing as well as we can in the World Cup. The team has been building, and we now have depth that can see you through a World Cup, can see you through the challenges of getting injuries or having to rotate the team. So that's the most important thing, doing much better than we did in the last two World Cups.
I don't know if it's been mentioned already, but Scotland's only game against Uruguay in a World Cup was in 1999, in which you scored a try. Do you have any memories of that game? And what do you expect from Uruguay this time around?
I didn't even know that at all. I knew it, but it was like from a different era. So yeah, I think the memories from that World Cup, like it just shows you how things have changed in rugby, but also Scottish rugby. Like we were struggling to get more than 10, 15,000 at games in that World Cup. I remember being quite an empty stadium against Uruguay. And then we played Samoa in a quarterfinal playoff, and I think only 15,000 were there that game. So the game has changed. Like rugby's thriving at international level. And in terms of Scottish rugby, it's great seeing so many supporters here. But it was a tough game. I remember Spain and Uruguay playing against each other at my club in Gala as well. And I think any team now that gets an opportunity to play in the World Cup, and there's more and more teams this year than ever before, they're going to play their best rugby. They're going to be showing their best qualities. They're building up to this. It stands massively out in terms of the other tournaments they play in. So we know we'll have Uruguay and Portugal on their best days.
With the new format of the international window, with the introduction of the Nations Championship, given you've used the last two summer tours to kind of try out uncapped players or more experienced players in the international side, is that something that's going to be a bit harder as you prepare for Australia?
It is. I think we'll have to use more than a squad of 23 in those three games. At the end of a long season, there'll be players that might not be available because of injury or just in terms of what they've done this season. And then the travel involved, we're going from Scotland to Argentina to South Africa and then back to somewhere else for three games. So yeah, I think we'll have to mix up the squad, but it won't be like the tours that we've been on where we've deliberately rested players. I think this is such a big tournament for us now, and to test ourselves against the best teams in their environments will be good preparation for the World Cup. So we'd want our strongest team available.
And just finally, for me, how much of an indicator are these next two games against Ireland in the Six Nations in terms of Scotland's chances of topping the pool?
Yeah, look, it would help massively if we got on the right side of the result for a change. We know how tough it'll be. Dublin, the last game of the championship, will be a very difficult game, but we played really well last time we were out in Dublin, and we'll be doing all we can to win that game. And yeah, it'll be more difficult the World Cup if we haven't managed to beat Ireland the next two seasons.
Cheers, Graham.
Thank you.
Gregor here, Ignacio Chance from Uruguay. What did you learn about the match you played in last year here against Uruguay? It was a very different Scotland team from what I imagine it will play. It will play in the Rugby World Cup. What did you learn about Uruguay thinking in of that game in 2 years?
Yeah, I thought Uruguay played really well. They were very good at the breakdown. Marado in particular, one of the best jacklers in world rugby, was outstanding that day. They worked out how we were defending, and they adapted really well. It was the first team we'd come across that did a different strategy and attack to combat how we were defending that day. So they're very smart, very innovative, and they're really passionate supporters, just competitive in how they played, and they looked fit as well. I remember the game being going into the second half before we really got away in the scoreboard. But yeah, and I know that they play Argentina every year. They've had a good November there, playing Portugal, Romania, and All Black 15. So they're getting quality fixtures. I'm sure that will continue, and they'll keep improving between now and the World Cup.
Last couple on the laptop, please.
Hi, Gregor. Portugal played some lovely stuff at the last World Cup. Do you think that's a more dangerous opponent than many people realise?
Yeah, I think both Portugal and Uruguay are dangerous. They had a close game against each other in November, and yeah, we played Portugal last year at Murrayfield, and maybe the scoreline flattered us a bit. I thought Portugal did a lot of good things in that game, and we saw how well they played in the last World Cup. So yeah, they're difficult games, and sometimes they're a bit unknown going into a game like that. But one positive of playing Portugal last year, and also them coming through in the last World Cup, is that we're not going to take them lightly. That's for sure.
And thank you very much. Just in terms of something different, I mean, would you have rather avoided Ireland, or would you give the diplomatic answer that you don't mind who you get?
Well, when you see the two teams in the top six, they're all quality sides, and some have done really well in World Cup, some have done really well in Six Nations, and it's going to be a very difficult game. It's one that we obviously want to win and top our pool, because things get easier if you go through first and if you're runner up. But yeah, even if we did go through runner up, there's still opportunities. I think with this setup, 16 teams getting into the knockout stages makes it more interesting, more exciting. Those one-off games, those knockout games, are going to be really tricky for whoever's favourites. So yeah, the important thing is that we get through our pool, and obviously we play to our best as we can, especially in the Ireland game.
And it's a less intimidating pool, I guess, than 23, when you had, obviously two very difficult games to even get out of the pool.
Yeah, different format, and obviously with the seeding, when the World Cup draw was done, we couldn't have got a worse draw, and that made it very tough.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's all we've got for Gregor. We'll bring Sony in now. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, bro. Hey, so how's it going?
You okay? Good, thanks, mate.
Go good, yeah. Jury, World Cup draw, Ireland again. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, geez, I think that's 3 times in a row now. Look, I think I watched the draw with Xander and Shug this morning, but I think if you would have picked any of the top 6 teams and put them in our draw, I think we're sitting in the exact same situation we're sitting in right now. It's just it's exciting times. It's kind of strange 2 years out from a World Cup, seeing the draw and the different format as well, and trying to work out, how things work. But I think it's extremely exciting, and we've got 2 other pretty tough teams in our pool as well, who performed pretty well at the last World Cup. So we know what's in front of us now. It's just pretty cool to see, teams and the route and everything like that. Yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, 2 years out, so there's a lot of rugby between now and
Yeah.
then. But I remember speaking to you guys after the last World Cup and the defeat to Ireland and how painful that whole experience was. How much of a driver is it for these guys, your team, to go to a World Cup and show the best of yourselves?
Yeah, I think it is the journey now, you know what I mean? And I feel like that is not necessarily the end, but if you know what I mean, like you go into a World Cup to show, everything that you've learned over the last World Cup cycle. So, it's right there for our group. There's a lot of rugby to be played before now and then, and it's up to myself and the playing group, to make sure we're in the best position to go and, have our best World Cup ever in a couple of years. But it does feel strange talking about it, with it being so far away. But I suppose it's something we have to start thinking about because, that is, I suppose, the path that's been laid out for us now. And yeah, like I said, the all focus now turns to the Six Nations and all the rugby that we're going to play before we go to that World Cup in Australia.
Yeah, you've got the Six Nations. You've also got the Nations Championship, which is
Mm.
a lot of big games for Scotland over the next little while. How big is that to be getting these regular games against the biggest teams? Because it's not always something Scotland have had in recent years. We've seen some of the summer tours been to some of the tier 2 nations and a bit more experimental. How big is it for your group to get a shot at these teams and build momentum towards that World Cup?
Yeah, I think it's everything, to be honest. I think that's whether we could have avoided it or not, I think it's something that we probably need, you know what I mean, in terms of playing top level opposition every single year. And I know we do get that in the Six Nations, but also just experience against some of the Southern Hemisphere teams, I think matter when you go to a World Cup. Think of the last 2 World Cups. I remember the storylines going into both of them is how well the Northern Hemisphere teams are doing, in Ireland and England, and the possibility of us going to perform well. And in both those World Cups, the Southern Hemisphere has won. I think that's something to be mindful of, is that we need to be experienced against the Southern Hemisphere, because of the last 2 World Cups, they've been the teams to be successful and make it to a final. So I think more versing teams with more regularity, like those teams. You look at what that's done for Argentina, in the Rugby Championship, being able to get those scalps over South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. They've done all 3, and I think that just comes with playing them twice every single year, and you become more accustomed to that playing style and everything like that. So I think it's massive for the group, and I know it's really exciting as well once you get to the end of the season, knowing that you have the opportunity to play the best teams in the world at the end of the season. When you've had that cohesion throughout the whole Test season.
You went back down to Australia and the red of the Lions. On a personal level, how special will a World Cup in Australia be? Go down there and lead in Scotland.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the schedule's worked out. A tour to Australia with the Lions, and now the possibility to go and hopefully captain Scotland in Australia. You feel a little bit lucky and blessed, and but again, that's 2 years away. I know there's so much rugby. I remember even feeling like this when we talked about the Lions, and then I hurt my pec, and you feel like the whole world's burning down. But there's so much rugby to be played before now and then, and so much to prove as well, as we know after this autumn for this team, and especially for this group of players. And I think that's all we should be focused on. But if I can get there, it'll be, as you know, so special. And yeah, I feel like with all the preparation that I've had over the last, 11 years of being a pro, by that time I'll be 13 years as a pro. It'll be a nice little thing that I'm prepared for, I think.
Celia, of the teams that have in recent times have beaten Scotland, annoyed Scotland, really, really, really annoyed Scotland. Where would Ireland rank?
Geez, I think you'd have to probably say the top, wouldn't you? they've been a hurdle that we've struggled to get over. And yeah, look, I think personally, I think it's something that we're going to have to do over the next two games, and to try and tackle that just before we go to the World Cup. And I think, having that Lions experience as well with that sharing the training field with a lot of those players and getting coached by a lot of their coaching, I think our players have taken a lot from that as well. And yeah, it's interesting now with the journey of both teams, and we're going to meet in the World Cup again in 2 years, but maybe that's the way it's supposed to be, I think, and that is our reality now, and we've got to try and tackle that, because in order for us to go perform as best as we can or progress as deep as we can, we have to beat Ireland, and that's just a reality. We've got to get over that, and it's a challenge that I'm really looking forward to as well, because like you say, I consider some of those boys my friends now, and there's no one who you want to be more than your friends. So I look forward to playing those boys in the Six Nations, as I'm sure they'll look forward to playing us.
That last time we heard from you was obviously the post-match. Tom, going, you were pretty angry. You were frustrated, I think, where the autumn had gone. A couple of weeks on, what are you thinking about the whole thing, and where the team are at now? And
yeah, after doing a bit of reflection as well, I'm still angry, and that's okay. Like why shouldn't I be angry? I care about winning for Scotland, and I know the players do as well. So I think it's about taking that anger into Glasgow games, and like I said, coming in as best form as I possibly can into the Six Nations. So after that tournament, I'm not as angry, and um, and I think just a true reflection after I spoke with Gregor as well after the autumn, but most in particular the New Zealand game, is that I feel like in that New Zealand game, more than other times that I've played for Scotland, I felt like against those top tier nations, we've held on, you know what I mean? And I think about South Africa the autumn before, we held on, and in the last 20 minutes, it wasn't there, if you know what I mean. And we were kind of grasping at straws to stay in the game, or trying to find big plays to stay in the game. Where in that New Zealand game, the feeling that I had on the pitch wasn't that. It wasn't that we were staying in the game. We had created that many opportunities that the feeling wasn't frustration because we couldn't find a solution. The feeling is that we couldn't capitalize on all the solutions that we did find. And I think that's two different types of frustration. And I think that's the most important thing for the group, is to know that my feeling coming out of those two games is that the feeling, well, what we're chasing is closer than what we think. And it's important that we take the lessons that we needed to learn after that Argentina game specifically. And I think maybe that needed to happen, is for us to address what's possibly been either holding us back, or also just be realistic and accept our flaws, of what we've done wrong, accept it, stand there as a team, as players, as individuals, and say what I did wrong as a captain, or what we did wrong as playing group, for us not to get those results. And I felt like we did that in the last week, and looked at each other honestly, and look, that we can't prove that solved anything until we get to the Six Nations, and where we understand that completely. So yeah, it's just about us playing group is sticking together, and understanding, that is our reality now, and we've got to go show everyone that we have, not necessarily that we have learned, but that we have grown. That's the most important thing. What we're looking for is growth.
The schedule for the World Cup early next year, you fingers crossed for Melbourne.
Yeah, to be honest, Melbourne wasn't the best place for me last time I went down for the Lions, because I didn't get to play in that second test. But maybe I'll hope for Brisbane, because I got to play up there, But no, just anywhere in Australia. I know Australia would be a great host nation for the World Cup after seeing what they did with the Lions tour, and I know the Wallabies will be a really good team by then. I know how they are as a people, and they're very competitive. So I can't see them going into that World Cup in poor form. So it'll make for them to be a great host nation, and I'm sure it's a good country for everyone to go support as well, and go get some sun down in Australia, and and enjoy that for everyone that can.
So just to go back to you've not got over that Ireland hurdle yet. How much of that is a tactical, physical problem that you haven't managed to address? How much of it is perhaps a psychological problem?
I think if you're being realistic, probably both. Like I think Ireland are a bloody good team, you know, and they've proved that over the last 5 years. But they've also gone through their transition period as well as a team, and that's why I think it's interesting for everyone. We're probably going through ours, and they're probably going through theirs now with a lot of their players either retiring or as we saw the effects of Johnny moving on. I got to see how influential he is when I was at the Lions. So um, I think things will change over the next 2 years. And I'm not saying that in terms of results. I just think for both teams, it's not going to be how it was at the World Cup in terms of because the teams will be different and would have grown and gone through different transition periods. So, yeah, I think that is a hurdle we need to get over. And that's just plain and simple. We can't run away from that fact as a playing group or as coaching staff or as a nation. We have to beat Ireland at the World Cup, and they have to beat us in order to finish at the top of the pool. So that's 2 years away, and we're going to play them twice over the next 2 years leading up to it. So we'll have a lot of experience going into the World Cup playing Ireland.
You've not managed to kind of bridge that gap yet.
Yeah.
There's a label about this team that's maybe mentally fragile.
Mhm.
What gives you the confidence that in the next 2 years or before the World Cup you can get kind of end that voodoo against Ireland?
Probably two things. I think the growth that I've seen in this team from inside the walls over the last 4 years, and then secondly, also is there's nothing that I can get up here and say that's going to make anyone believe me until we do it. So I think that's the most important thing is that, and I know you guys interviewed me after the Tonga game as well and could see my frustration is that truthfully I'm done talking about Scotland succeeding or Glasgow succeeding or what type of players we have or the golden generation or anything like that. I'm tired of talking about it. And it's more I understand now as well, and we understand as a playing group. It's talking about it's not going to do anything for us as a team, and we need to get over that hump. And the only way that anyone is going to believe us is by doing it.
Great.
Cheers.
We'll go on to the laptop.
All right.
Anyone on Zoom?
Hi, Sione. Gregor's the only coach you've ever had in your Scotland career. What's that been like? And how's he kind of helped guide you through your international career? Do you like having that continuity?
With my coach?
Yeah. With Gregor as head coach.
Well, I've loved it, to be honest. I'm in not the last 3-4 years, I've been able to play over 30 times for Gregor, and I've only gained more trust and for him as a coach over that time, and of course continuing. Can you say that word for me? I've got a list.
Continuity.
I've got a list. You got to understand. Yeah, that's always good for as a player, but I think also it's like going through the hard times and the good times with the coach makes it more I think enjoyable when you do get to the good times, when we've gone through this tough period of the autumn, and now I want nothing more than for us and for Gregor is to have a good Six Nations, and I feel like you owe it to them a little bit as well. There's so much work that goes behind the scenes, and you see the coaches go through so much detail and stuff like that, and you realize how much pressure is on the coaches. I just want to take a little bit of accountability through the playing group, and we are responsible for these victories and losses, and yeah, I just feel like it's time for us now to pay back the coaching staff for getting us into this position.
Cheers, thank you.
Hi, Sione. How do you handle all the match ticket requests from your mates? Do you need to buy a new phone, or do you need to put in your WhatsApp status that you don't have any tickets?
I just keep my UK number, mate. They don't have it. They don't have it. Look, I got stung at the Lions a little bit as well. Those tickets were really expensive, so I think I'll jump that hurdle when I get to it. But I might start telling them that the tickets are a little bit more expensive than they are, and just skim a little bit off the top, if you know what I mean.
But seriously, it's a proud one. I know there was you had some family over in November, didn't you, for a game, and so
yeah.
A World Cup in Australia is massive for you as for your from a family point of view.
Yeah, 100%. And not just family, because a lot of my family's been able to come over and watch me, but so many of my friends and even teammates haven't watched me play just because I play in Scotland. So to be able to hit it on the head in terms of having all those people support me and also playing for Scotland in Australia, it's pretty amazing opportunity. So it's one that I want to capitalize on and obviously get to the World Cup.
Thank you very much.
Happy. Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Any question? You got more stuff to do for.
No, all good, mate.
We don't. That's what we're gonna do ourselves, isn't it?
You just be doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's fine, that's it.
Thanks, Ben.
And then both out today or? Any preferences? Easy either way, whatever suits.
Work will probably be.
Was it, mate?
What we do both of them today? Both one.
I'm gonna make the phone to see what it's for tomorrow.
So it's 3, probably helps. Some Gregor today.
Yeah.
Soon it's 2 weeks. We'll hope in the end.
You all right, mate?
Happy with that, James?
Hello.
That's all if you need to use
Scan it.
from any. What's that? Not sure about tomorrow or Friday from it, so I'll just do it to you guys, then you go. I'll put some out today, and because it wants to me, I'm off tomorrow already, so. There's nothing to see on here anyway.
Our TV guys might be a clip, but do it online, I'll hold it for tomorrow.
I'll say not to get okay.
But you have to do it, you have to people.
See you in Rocky. See you, Joe. So cheers, thanks.
Is there any?
Yeah.
You say fun. Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's. But not as on there. But that's for tomorrow. No, what's going on today? Yeah. I'm gonna run away about the day here tomorrow. I should. Keep it Sony for tomorrow. Oh, no. Right.
All right, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, game tonight, Tom.
All right.
Game tonight.
In the studio. The studio. Who are you?
Play Castle. See if the bubbles open first.
Do it a win now.
Definitely.
I mean, we do win tonight.
Yeah, it's Aberdeen territory.
Sure, they're talking right up there about it. Yeah, there is a bit of a crisis.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it, 195 at the moment?
Yeah.
195. Yeah. Can't go 196.
No.
Can't do that, especially.
It's the worst team in the league at the minute.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,